Well, I see you have arrived. I admire your courage. And who am I? Just think of me as your very own personal ghost host. I'm here to tuck you in tonight. So, lock your windows and doors, look in your closet and under your bed, and hold your blankets tight, and prepare for 6 terrifyingly true ghost stories. Let's jump right in with our first tale of terror, with a story from someone that has recently moved into a house where odd things are afoot. We call this one, I Live in a Haunted House.
Hello! Me and my family moved last year to a house in a little town. We were told that the lady who lived here before us had passed away in the house and possibly her husband as well. We've had a couple weird things happen, like weird noises, things falling off shelves. But lately we've seen a lot of things. The first time I saw it, it was like 2 a.m. and I got up from bed to go to the washroom and I saw someone walk into the kitchen. I said hello, 'cause I thought it was one of my parents, and no one responded, so I walked in, and no one was there. But it was late, so I thought I was just seeing things. So down to today. I had just woken up home alone, but I didn't know that. Got out of bed to go get my medicine, and I'm bad at taking pills. It takes me a couple tries. So, I'm standing in the kitchen looking out the window, and behind me I see a black figure walk behind me to the hallway. I said hi again 'cause I thought it was maybe my dad. So, once I finished with my pill, I walked through the hallway rooms, and no one was there. Weird, so I went to see if the cars were still there, and they weren't. So, hello ghost, I'm freaking, and I call my dad and ask if anyone was home, and he said, just you, and I was freaking out and babbling, and he said, you saw it too? What, he saw the shadow walking too, and I'm like, okay, so I'm not seeing stuff. He reassures me it's a friendly spirit, and I go sit down. My one dog is beside me, and I hear what sounds like a footstep at the end of the hallway. I can't see it from where I'm sitting. I call my other dog 'cause maybe I'm just freaking myself out. She was beside me and I didn't realize, and all of a sudden I hear running down the hallway. It was so freaky but kinda cool, so this has really solidified it for us that there's definitely at least one spirit here. If anyone has any recommendations if I should make contact or something, I'm not sure what to do. Do I just let it be? 'Cause I know something has to be quite powerful to show itself and push objects and make noise, so I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening. Wish me luck. Edit, hi, it's the same day. Keep in mind. I feel sick, I'm so scared. I just called my mom to tell her what happened earlier. We found out her name, and my mom's really excited for a ghost friend, and she was talking to her over the phone. Anyway, I went to go into the kitchen to make food for her before she got home and hung up the phone. Me and my dog Daisy were in the kitchen, and I talked to my doggy a lot. I said, haha, wouldn't it be funny if I saw the ghost again? And a couple seconds later my dog's hair went up and she started growling at nothing. She never growls or gets scared at anything, and the one light in the kitchen started flickering. We've never had this issue before, and all the other lights that were on were completely fine. Now I'm just sorta ranting about it, so I'm not so freaked out. But now I'm kinda worried my mom set it off by talking to her and using her name. Even though my mom and dad have seen it and heard stuff, I'm like, maybe I'm just hallucinating.
Well, I don't think you're hallucinating. Not unless you all are. But you know what? It never ceases to amaze me how people will knowingly move into a house where someone has passed away, and then they are so surprised when they discover that their house is haunted. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Our next one comes from an OP who has a ghost that seems to have a different taste in music. This one is called, My Ghost Story is Kinda Crazy. They messed with my Spotify.
My story is kinda crazy, and I swear I didn't make this up. In 2005, I was sleeping at night next to my then partner. We had a double high sleeper. Suddenly, we both sat up wide awake. I can only describe it as something flew through my chest. We turned the light on, and the ceiling light shade was swinging around. My partner just said, "It was probably just a spider. Can we go back to sleep? I have to get up early tomorrow." Never thought of it, spoke of it much after. In 2018, I was sitting with a friend and we were telling each other our ghost stories. I was telling the above, he was telling me how he left the house once, turned the record player off, and when he came back, the record was spinning. Later that day, I went home on the bus, was listening to Spotify, and suddenly my Spotify was playing up. I pretty much listened to the same stuff all the time, and it kept switching to music I'd never listened to. Every time I switched back, it switched back again. I was looking around inside the bus, maybe someone was pranking me. Telling my friends of this later, I said, maybe my Spotify was hacked. But they made a point. Why would someone hack a Spotify as everyone can have it for free? I then went through my setting, changed my password, just trying to figure out what happened. That's when I discovered these 3 new playlists. I swear I didn't put them on there. It says my username underneath, which I covered for privacy. Has anyone heard anything like this before, or has it happened to anyone?
Okay, attention all ghosts. If you want, you rattle your chains all you want. You can scream boo at all hours of the night. You can even throw things all over the joint. But you gotta leave the damn Spotify alone. What the hell is the matter with you? Our next story, to add some good old nightmare fuel, is from a guy in Wales who has had, shall we say, a very interesting paranormal life. It's called Girl's Voice Telling Us to Stop It.
Hey guys. I was hoping for a bit of advice or to try and get some answers. I've had a couple of experiences that I am unable to explain. I'll start from the first incident when I was around 11 years old, and my brother was 14. We lived in a new-built home in Wales, a very normal-looking house, and it definitely did not feel or look haunted. We found a couple of strange things in the back garden when we were younger, such as old bottles and a pair of old broken sunglasses. Not sure if it's related or not, but thought I'd mention it. One of the first strange things that happened was when my mum called us downstairs, as for some reason there was a glass of milk on our kitchen table that was full to the brim, like it was so full if you moved it would spill. My brother and I had no idea, as none of us did it. We went to the living room for something, and when we came back the glass of milk was empty. Weird, but didn't think much of it. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, me and my brother were playing the Sims game on the computer. It was only me and him in the house as my mother was working late. We were creating a new sim when all of a sudden something came between me and my brother's ears and said, "Stop it." It was the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life, and still to this day I can hear it. It was really unnatural. I could almost feel the breath, and it freaked us both out. We both turned and looked at each other and said, "Did you hear that?" We both jumped out of our seats and ran to the other room, called our mother and told her, and she just chalked it up as our imagination. But whatever happened to us was real and definitely happened. I've done a bit of research on it and have found that ghosts do sometimes whisper stuff in your ears, freaky stuff. Fast forward to a few years later, nothing paranormal after the milk and whispering ghost girl thing incident, but then there was one night when I was in bed. I had a TV in the bedroom and the streetlights outside would make the screen reflect stuff so I could see things in my hallway, etc. It was around 3 a.m. when I randomly woke up, and I saw what looked like a woman in a white gown walk into my bathroom and the door shut behind them. Freaked me right out. I said to myself, it's probably my brother, as he had a white dressing gown. I decided to get up and have a look. I knocked on the door expecting my brother to reply, but there was no answer. So I opened the door and there was nobody in there. Scared the crap out of me, I ran back to bed and pulled the sheets over my head, then ended up falling asleep. I told my mum and brother about it, but they both just said I must have been dreaming. Weird. Other than those incidents, nothing else really happened until now. So fast forward to today, I'm now 28. I completely forgot about the whispering ghost girl until my brother brought it up to me a couple weeks ago. Once I started to remember it, some strange crap started happening. Now this only happens when I'm in work. It's never happened in my flat or anywhere else. But basically, I was sitting in the work canteen having my lunch, and in the corner of my eye I saw what looked like a man in an orange hoodie with his hood up and blue jeans. When I turned to look, it disappears. It doesn't happen every day, but it happens a lot. Always the same orange hoodie and blue jeans. Now where I work is right next to Cardiff Central train station. I'm not sure if that's linked at all, maybe an incident on the railway or something. But I'm still seeing this orange hoodie man to this day, and I just want to know what people think. I've never seen their face as their head is down with the hood up. Am I more open to paranormal things or spirits because of what happened when I was younger? Or am I just going crazy? Any advice or help would be greatly appreciated.
Gee, I guess the ghost just wasn't into Sims. Before we get into our next tale, I just want to take a moment to remind you to, assuming your hands are not trembling with terror at the moment, hit like and subscribe. It'll really raise our spirits, so to speak. And if you don't, I swear I'll come and haunt your house. I'll rattle chains at all hours of the night, yell boo while you're trying to sleep. I'll raid your fridge, and I'll, try on all your clothes and stuff. Just a lot of scary stuff. Our next one comes from a young lady that had an encounter at her grandmother's house, and it's called, obviously, Ghost of a Young Girl Stuck in My Grandmother's House.
Hi everyone. I have been exposed to a lot when it comes to paranormal activity. Me and my family are open when it comes to it because many of us have encountered the paranormal. This story is the first paranormal encounter that I can remember. I have experienced a very scary encounter at my grandmother's house when I was 8 years old. I shared this encounter with my cousin Philip, who was 7 years old at the time. Every summer, my cousin and I used to sleep over at our grandmother's house. She lives in a very small village in Serbia and lives in a house that is positioned in two parts, basically two houses that share a yard. One of the houses has the living room, kitchen, and bathroom, and the other house has a hall and two big bedrooms. The house where the bedrooms are is old and just renovated a bit inside, while the other house is built by my grandpa. It was a summer night when me and my cousin were sleeping over at my grandmother's house. We both couldn't fall asleep, and we were alone in the room. I would have guessed that the time was around 2 to 3 a.m. at this point. We were both kind of half asleep at this point. I opened my eyes again and looked towards the big closet that was across the room. I saw a silhouette of a taller and skinny woman with long, curly hair opening the closet and looking for something. At first, I just thought it was my mom looking for something, as my mom had long curly hair at that time. After a few seconds, I came to the realization that my mom is not at my grandmother's house. I felt a drop in my heart, and I froze. I remember trying to pinch my cousin so that he would wake up, but I was so scared that I couldn't move. I watched the figure move across the room and out of the door into the hallway. The lights in the hallway were turned on, and the second the light hit the figure, it disappeared. I remember being so scared and confused that I couldn't move from fear. I slowly drifted away and fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning, I remembered everything, but I guess I just wrote it off as a dream, or just my eyes playing tricks with me. I didn't mention this to anyone, as I kind of forgot about it until a few years ago. I would say this was 4 to 5 years ago, and my cousins and I were sitting at my grandmother's house. My grandmother was telling us all these different stories of the paranormal that she encountered, and one story to another led to my cousin Philip telling us that he saw a weird thing at my grandmother's house when he was younger. He started explaining that he saw a silhouette of a woman looking around the closet and disappearing into the light. I was honestly shocked, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I started adding details to his story, and we soon realized that we saw the same thing. We think we saw it the same night, as he said that he remembered I was with him at that time, but he thought I was asleep and didn't want to wake me up. My grandmother didn't seem surprised that we saw this girl. She explained to us that the family that owned the house prior had a daughter that was 19 years old. She was tall, slim, and had long, black, curly hair. She had trouble with sleepwalking and climbed up on the roof when she was sleepwalking. One of her family members, in panic, woke her up by shouting. When she woke up, she lost control and fell from the roof, and unfortunately, she didn't make it. My grandmother told us that she would often have dreams about a girl yelling at people from the roof. These dreams occurred most when they first moved in, and my grandmother didn't know about the story. She was later told about the story by a friend she made in the village, and she never dreamt about it again. There are many other stories from this house and this village, but this was my most memorable one. Tell me if you want to hear more stories from the same place.
Why sure, I think I can safely say we'd love to hear more stories from the same house and village. Our next one comes from a maintenance man that worked at a hospital. We call this one the Haunted ICU ward. Isn't it a bit late for a ghost to get intensive care?
First off, I swear on everything this is as accurate as I remember it, and in no way, shape, or form made up. Long story short, about 1.5 years ago, I worked maintenance at an older hospital, and roughly around 11 p.m., the fire alarm goes off. It's part of our responsibility to investigate and be sure there isn't a real fire. So, I and the other maintenance guy look on the fire panel to see which alarm is activated. It's showing smoke detectors in the old cardiac ICU. Remind you, this unit has been empty since early 2020, when the new unit was finished being built. So when we step off the elevator, we go through the locked double doors and walk down the dark/dim-lit hallway. Around the corner, we come up to the nurse's station, and it's fully staffed with critical patients in almost every room. And we didn't really think much of it at the time. But something that stuck out to us was that everyone seemed to stop what they were doing, and in complete silence just stared at both of us. We figured they must have moved back, and since we're the evening shift no one told us, we locate the activated smoke detector and verify no smoke/fire, and go back to the panel to clear out the alarm/notify FD that there is no fire. The very next day or so, we're back in the same unit, replacing light bulbs or something, and every single room is full of furniture, extra beds, chairs, etc. And the whole ward is a mess that looks like it hasn't been touched in years. Dust on the desks, stains in ceiling tiles, trash piled up, computer monitors unplugged, and stuff along those lines to insinuate that the unit is still closed.
Wow, that is creepy. In fact, congratulations, you're the only guy in history to actually creep out a ghost. Well, it looks like we have just enough time for one more story before I send you off to dreamland, so to speak. It comes from an OP who has a neighbor that might be gone, but he definitely won't allow himself to be forgotten. It's called Haunted by My Deceased Neighbor.
I live in an apartment-style condo. All our entrances are private from the outside, think motel. This summer, new renters moved into a unit downstairs, kitty corner to me. They were a very sweet older couple in their 80s. I spoke to the wife a bit when our paths crossed and waved to the husband when I saw him. One morning in late August, I hear a loud smashing/crashing sound, and I run to my sliding glass door and see that one of the exterior tempered glass windows is shattered. I go outside to investigate, and I don't see anything that could have caused this. I check my security cameras and nothing. The glass just shatters out of thin air. I shrug it off and go about my day. A few hours later, my parking lot is filled with emergency services. There is a fire truck and an ambulance. I see the state police pull in and I think, oh no, something has happened to the couple downstairs. I rush out to make sure they are okay, and the EMT gives me a look. I see the wife is on the porch with her son bawling. Since she has someone to support her, I go back to my unit and give them space. Later, I find out the husband had passed in his sleep sometime between 9 a.m. when the wife woke up and noon when the son came to visit and found him. The window shattered at 10:29 a.m. My neighbor swears it was related. I am skeptical, but what do I know? Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I hear a knock on my slider door, followed by a slam. My dog gets up and is facing the corner looking at something I can't see. Her hair is standing up. She is growling. Things in the corner of the room start falling. I calm her down. It was strange to say the least, and I think back to the old man and the window, shrug it off and go about my day. This past weekend, I am getting in my Tesla. As I go to sit down in the driver's seat, I catch a glimpse of the radar, showing a human figure walking along the car toward the driver's side front door. I close the door and look up to see nothing there. I turn back to the radar and keep watching. On the screen, I watch as a figure walks up to my door, turns to face it, and pauses for a few seconds before walking to the back driver's side door, where my dogs are anxiously waiting for a joyride. Turns to face it, and pauses for a few seconds before vanishing. A few days later, I tell my husband. He says, "Oh yeah, that happened to me yesterday. It is a system glitch. I saw a human figure walk to the driver's side front door, pause, and vanish. It was the system lagging and showing me walking to the car and getting in." Here is the thing, I don't think that is what was happening. The Tesla radar system has never showed a lag to my knowledge, and it has never done it the thousands of times I have gotten in the car. The other problem with that theory is that the figure did not follow the path I took. I let the dogs into the car and then went back inside to grab something I missed. When I returned, I went right to the driver door and got in. It doesn't track. Fast forward to last night. My husband turns out the lights in the kitchen and living room and goes to bed while I am in the shower. I get out of the shower and head for bed when I notice the kitchen light is on. I grumpily and begrudging turn the light out and go to bed. In the night, I wake up and notice the hallway seems illuminated by light from the kitchen/living room. I ignore it and go back to sleep. My husband gets up before me to go to work. This morning, my husband asks me why I left the kitchen light on last night. I didn't. I turned it off. I know I did. My friend made me download some GhostTube app today. I had it on for a few minutes while talking to her on the phone. I thought words or phrases would just appear on the screen. Apparently the app plays audio it is picking up. So out of nowhere the app starts speaking and I freaked out and shut it off. I didn't want to do it. It was against my better judgment because I don't like even thinking about stuff like this, and I definitely don't like to mess around with it. I also didn't want to use some potentially scammer app and increase my paranoia, but here we are spiraling in on Reddit. This just feels like a lot of unexplained weird happening in a short period of time.
You know what? That's the biggest problem I have with neighbors. They come over once to borrow a cup of sugar, then they never leave you the hell alone. Even crossing through the veil doesn't seem to stop some of them. That was some scary stuff tonight, wasn't it? But do you know what is not scary? Hitting like, subscribe, and sharing this video. It'll really help us keep the ghosts at bay. However, if you prefer podcast, then you're in luck, because we also release our videos in podcast form on Spotify. And of course, if any of you have a story to share, then by all means, drop me a line in the comments. But I do want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope the stories we told won't be giving you too many bad dreams. But if they do, then maybe you shouldn't run from them. After all, sometimes it's better to embrace your nightmares.